All right, guys, I've been asked this question about 1,000 times. I'm gonna make a dedicated video to it so I can share people the link instead of explaining it to them. Talon 1000, great machine, by far the most fun side-by-side because of these. Right now, it's the only side-by-side you can shift other than the YXZ, which is pretty much only good for short course racing and has a whole list of problems, so we didn't get it. This is the one you want if you want to shift gears and have fun and stuff. In the next couple years, there will be a few more double clutch side-by-sides out there. I'm not going to blow anyone out of the water and tell you who it is, but a couple more manufacturers are going to do it. Honda is paving the way, as usual. Suck it, everybody else. Okay, but this machine has two major problems, and three if you're me. The most major thing is low range. A lot of people destroy their transmissions and shift and strip out low range, destroy the sub-trans, have to have it rebuilt. This problem is a design flaw. It's kind of there in the Pioneer 1000. It's a lot worse here. And, you know, it's just a product of it being a new machine. Honda did take like 10 years to design this thing, and they still didn't get this right. That being said, it's still the best drivetrain layout of any of these I've used. No carrier bearing, yada, 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 no U-joints on the rear shaft, reliable, whatever. And the low range thing isn't a deal breaker because you can outsmart it. It's not like it's weak, it's that it's hard to engage. What I mean by that is once you engage it properly, see, that did not engage properly. That did. Once you engage it properly, it's good to go. It's not going to jump out. You can run 35s on this thing, no problem. Eventually you'll toast your clutches, but it's not going to hurt the subtrans. Once you get it fully engaged and low, it is 100% good to go. The problem is you drunk fucks. You're all up there riding, whoa, reverse forward, and you got one of these things. Let me see if it'll do it right there, where it didn't go all the way in. And if you're paying attention, you would have known it didn't go all the way in, and you'd have played with it and got it all the way in before you hit the gas. Can-Ams are the same way. Can-Ams are hard to get in gear. However, whenever they don't go into gear, it's less likely that they strip the transmission out. My 570 happened to strip the transmission out, take it ride. But no one complains about it because Can-Ams have a reputation for being crap. Honda should be perfect, so this is a big problem for Honda. But, like I said, if you pay attention, you can outsmart it, right? Learn how it feels when it's all the way in gear. Keep your hand on the shifter for a split second. Give it some throttle, drive a few feet, and then let go. Now, there's another way you can tell if it's in gear. It has a gear selector. I don't know why I started it. It has a gear selector. And if you get it in one of these weird positions, most of the time, there you go, it will tell you it's not in gear yet. If you don't see a low range indicator there, an L, don't drive it away. Play with it a little bit, turn the wheel a little bit, rock it, do whatever you got to do. Get that sucker to say L before you drive away. But you don't even have to look at that. If you're just a smart person and you know how things should feel, you can feel when it doesn't go into gear, like right there. And look at that, again, it's got a dash. So if you're careful, every time you go into low and you make sure it's fully engaged in gear and your shift cable is adjusted properly, which is down in there, there's an adjustment, you can pull this off, a couple pins, there's two nuts. If you do that all right, it's freaking fine. Also, there's a sticker that tells you to come to a complete stop. Okay, so that's problem number one. Problem number one can be solved by being a civilized person and actually making sure your machine is in gear before driving away. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. Honda could improve it. It should be more user-friendly, but it is what it is, and it works fine if you're smart and you pay attention. Okay, problem number two is driveline vibration. About, I don't know, 60% of these don't have a vibration in four-wheel drive. And you notice that doing high-speed four-wheel drive stuff, the drive shaft's either out of phase or the U-joints are off-center a little bit. Some people have the U-joint caps fly off and catastrophic U-joint failure on the front diff. I haven't had that yet. So the other problem is the front driveline. I said it's my favorite driveline. Well, it is. It's my favorite design. It's just not being executed properly. So they're not getting phase right, and they're not installing the joints right. And that's probably going to be fixed next year, hopefully. Enough people have had problems with them. Honda's been warranting them. The reason it's my favorite is because there's very little angle on the U-joints, and there's only two U-joints. There's no carrier bearing. So that's just less stuff to worry about. One less U-joint and one less carrier bearing. So I like that. Hopefully someone will come out with a really beefy CV front drive shaft for these. CV is continuous velocity. That'll get rid of all the phasing and be perfect. So that's problem number two. Problem number three is really only a problem for me. I4-wheel drive. So it doesn't have a locker, it has I4-wheel drive. And this works great on stock tires. I have had the four-wheel drive light come on at one point. when I was really letting it eat, doing some hill climbs. It went out a second later, not a huge deal. But if you got big tires on here, you're relying on the brakes to provide your limited slip. And the brakes are only, you know, so big around. The bigger the tire gets, the weaker the brake is in relation to the tire, yada, yada, yada. And your performance goes down in the front as far as limited slip goes. So those are my 3 complaints with this thing. I've had it for a little while. Let's see how many miles I put on it. 430 miles. So that's pretty good. I've only had it for a couple months. I've been beating the crap out of it. It's been flipped. It's done hill climbs. It's done donuts. It's done jumps. It's done tracks. It's done water. It's done everything. And it handles it all very well, very capable. When these things first came out, I said I wasn't going to get one. I'm like, why would you buy a sport side-by-side for mud? I was wrong. So the sport side-by-side and the mud thing actually kind of makes sense because it flexes really well. This is probably the best rock climbing side-by-side there is. I mean, it's just extremely flexible. The Talon's not the best for jumps, not the best for short course. It kind of lawn darts like a YXZ. The back's kind of stiff. The suspension geometry is not as smooth as like a KRX. It's not long enough to be a KRX. But for trails and stuff like that, unless you're going out in the dunes, this is the side-by-side you want. I mean, it's just the most fun with the shifters, most reliability, no belt, efficient drivetrain. This thing ran for 2 days wide open on one tank of gas. I mean, wide open for 2 days straight. It's very efficient, very awesome. And I was wrong. It is the best side-by-side all around. Even though it's not designed for mud and stuff like that, it's great in the mud. Eventually, we're going to install, you might be able to see it over there. I've got a front diff at a P1000 we're going to install eventually. I need to get around to it. And eventually Torque Locker is going to make a locker for it, so then we'll be good to go. Now I got to climb out of this thing because I can't get the door open. There's too much Honda in this garage. Also, as you know, I got rid of the Wolverine, so the garage is all Honda again. This is a good feeling. All right, that's my rant. Hopefully it helps you guys. If you buy a Talon, the first thing you got to pay attention to is make sure shifter's adjusted right. I do recommend an aftermarket shift gate. This one's grinded a little bit to help you get deeper into low. This is the #1 thing you got to watch out for. If you buy a new Talon, be very careful shifting it in low, and you'll never have any problems out of it.